Radio 1 FM 90.
Brought to you by Housing Finance Bank, a financial institution regulated by Bank of Uganda. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy.
Your views, our interviews on Spectrum, Radio 1 FM 90.
It's Monday, the 4th of March 2024, and thank you very much for making time to join us on this edition of Spectrum. We are coming to you live from Radio 1 FM 90, which is broadcasting from the central building here in the heart of our city, Kampala. But we are also live on our website, which is www.radio1fm90.com. While on that website, you click on the icon with the word Listen Live. We are also live on the different radio listening apps, which can be obtained from the Google Store of your smartphone. Look for Radio Garden, Streamer Freak, and download. Look for Radio 1 FM 90, and as long as you have an internet connection, you'll be able to listen to this radio station. The other option, if you have a DSTV connection, look for audio channel 897. On StarTimes, our audio channel is 97. My name is Kenneth Lukwagandason, your host, and today we'll be discussing the outcry over alleged abuse of public funds in Parliament. Now, an online anti-corruption and service delivery driven campaign dubbed Parliamentary Exhibition has left many shocked after it revealed that what many perceive as a blatant abuse of public resources by Parliament. Now, documents exhibited indicated that very big transactions have been occurring not only in Parliament, not only in the office of the Speaker, but also in other places. For instance, the records show that the office of the clerk has been clearing funds made for per diem for the Speaker and her husband. We also saw another record indicating that the leader of opposition, former leader of opposition, Right Honorable Mathias Mpuuga, was allocated 500 million shillings, while other commissioners of Parliament were each allocated 400 million shillings. This money came as what they are calling a service award. Honorable Mathias Mpuuga has admitted being part of the meeting that discussed this plan, but maintains that this should not be treated as corruption. Now, this issue is already causing him problems with his political party, the National Unity Platform. On the other allegations made about the Speaker and her husband, the office of the Speaker is yet to respond to this matter. But good enough, tonight we have the spokesperson of Parliament in studio, Mr. Chris Obore, who is also the Director of Communications, to be able to share with us what Parliament thinks about this particular campaign. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on Spectrum, Mr. Obore.
Thank you, Anderson, and thank you, listeners.
Also in studio is Mr. Marlon Agaba. He is the Executive Director at the Anti-Corruption Coalition, Uganda. From time to time, the Anti-Corruption Coalition follows what is happening in the country in terms of utilization of resources, and I'm sure they have been following this campaign. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much, Anderson, and good evening to our listeners.
Well, I'll begin with you, Mr. Marlon Agaba. I'm sure you've seen this campaign. First, we had a similar campaign about the roads sector, and now we also heard about the health sector. It now shifted to Parliament, and we have seen a number of issues actually coming to the fore. First of all, what's your take about this initiative and what it has so far put across as a tool for fighting corruption?
Yeah, first of all, I will salute the brains behind the exhibitions. Spire and Agatha, I think, have been doing a good job, and I really salute them. We have had the NGO exhibition before, the Portals exhibition, and several other exhibitions, which I think is a quite important innovation in a country like ours, where the civic space has been shrinking. When you look at the work of civil society, media, and other formations, non-state formations, you find that the operating space has been shrinking because of the different restrictions. So having relatively young people coming up with innovative ways of expressing displeasure in a way the country is being governed, I think it is a welcome initiative, and we welcome it as civil society. And we have seen, like in the previous exhibitions, first of all, this information coming to the fore, citizens knowing, but also secondly, I've seen a few issues here and there being addressed. So it is a welcome initiative. Yeah.
All right, let's focus on the particular concerns that I've raised during the current ongoing exhibition, and the focus was on Parliament.
Yeah, of course, Parliament has been exhibited just like the other agencies have been exhibited, and of course, Parliament in this country has a very clear role and mandate to play in terms of appropriation, in terms of oversight, in terms of legislation and the other work it does. And we have seen on several occasions Parliament holding other agencies, ministries, departments and agencies and local governments accountable. And I think this has been a good initiative in terms of holding the same Parliament accountable, because I think although we have the balance of power in this country, in a way Parliament also has relatively a lot of power when it comes to issues to do with oversight and accountability and appropriation, even if it exercises the same over other agencies of government. So I think, it is a good initiative really to hold our members of Parliament to account for the power and for the resources that they have.
All right, let's hear from Chris. Your initial thoughts about this campaign, the exhibitions.
I made the position on the exhibition, I think last week, and I'll repeat it here, that the exhibition is a noble duty of a citizen. And when you have the civic competence to do it, it is how society is transformed. And therefore, on that note, nobody would frown at the Uganda Parliament exhibition. I only cautioned that while exhibiting, it is very important not to fall to the same trap. Once a noble cause gets hijacked by politics, it ceases becoming a professional thing. Because politics, in essence, is a contestation for power. And you bring in other means either to get or to retain. So I called on the exhibitors that it is very important to remain on the professional path than getting derailed into blackmail, half-baked information, people throwing tantrums, then you give them a platform, and then it will lead to more chaos. The purpose gets defeated. Because the exhibition is asking people, it's crowdsourcing in journalism. But the difference in journalism is that after crowdsourcing, there is the verification level before you allow anything on air. On the exhibition, it is about throwing it there. And I will still warn again that we see it tending towards a political tool. And that to me will anger me. Because why? Parliament being exhibited needs to be a listening institution. And that's what I've told the public. Who are we not to listen? And I said, I'm not going to rush into making comments, rebuttals. So, what are you doing? Why are you quiet? What is wrong with these people? One part of leadership organization is listening. Get the feedback, process the feedback, and then give a comprehensive response. But when people begin to say, why are you this, said that? You want Parliament to be a knee-jerk reactionary institution? Because people are still bringing out their issues. What we are doing is to collect the issues, process. Those with material substance, you process. Those you think are real, you ignore. But I'm not going to be all the time. Lukwago, this is this. Lukwago, it becomes I don't know how to term it.
A ping pong.
A ping pong. Then Parliament will not be listening. In every conversation, for it to be meaningful, there is a need to listen to one another.
All right. You've had an opportunity to listen, and probably you've seen the number of documents that have actually been thrown, like you're saying. Let's begin with this document that is showing some exorbitant figures about the allowances. The Speaker of Parliament has been drawing, together with the husband, and cleared by the Clerk of Parliament. I'm seeing on a different date, some people have even been making comical statements on social media that some allowances were paid when they were in another place and they were expected to be in another place. They are drawing from even where they have not been. What is your take about this document?
It's not only one, there are many now. I've seen the one for the clerk, I've seen another one for, so there are many coming.
Include the Clerk of Parliament.
In the beginning, I went back and said, this happened. I discovered that some of the trips are legitimate trips mentioned. Then again, at that same period, some trips put in did not exist. That's when I began raising my antenna. That the exhibitors could have had a noble cause. But Kampala and this city is full of fraudulent mines. In a bid to push the thing, they can now pick 3 correct trips of the speaker and then draw a document and make it 10 and put whatever they want to put.
All right. From the list you saw, which ones are the legitimate trips?
The speaker has been to Rome several times. Has
Rome?
been to Russia several times. I've been to South Sudan several times. He has even been to Nairobi, not on a holiday. But you see, some of those trips are not mentioned. So I said, okay.
Official leave?
Not taken yet. Then I said, what happened? Last when I issued a statement to say, please, exhibitors, be cautious. Your thing could be hijacked.
There has not been an official leave for 30 days by the speaker and the spouse.
Not taken. I know. Then, in government, generally, my brother will agree with me, even me, there are situations. You plan a trip, say, we're invited to, like the clerk to parliament, they are quoting. Those trips are very legitimate because the clerk has a peer only in other parliaments. And there are this association of clerks for all the Commonwealth. Most of them, it is to do with other parliaments. He has to go, he gets invited as a clerk. He has to go, that's part of his work. But then you find some trips, the event was scheduled for this particular date. Then either the organizers, for whatever circumstances there, defer the conference. But here you have processed payment. Now what happens internally? Sarim allowed, even the gentleman knows about that. If the purpose for which you got the money got altered, you allowed, if there is another similar activity somewhere, to move on that. So you'll find that somebody says you have gone to South Sudan, it is supposed to be in Kenya. But doesn't know that while the system captured that you went to Kenya, for accountable pass, it also captured that you went to South Sudan. Because then you have to provide the boarding passes of South Sudan. Now, when it goes to the public and without that knowledge, you alarm the public. And so and so is getting money like this. It happens. Ask anybody in government. In layman's language, my friend Lukwago's wedding, he has invited me to Masindi. The wedding is in April. We are moving, we reach April 10th, there are circumstances that have come, the wedding is postponed.
The question is, do you draw that money? Because there have been allegations that some of the trips were not actually taken, but the money was drawn.
It's the same thing I'm explaining here. That I can receive money for going to Kenya, then the activity for which I was going to Kenya, for other circumstances beyond me,
You don't go.
I don't go.
Do you refund that money?
No, there are two issues. You choose to refund, which is allowed. It goes back to the consolidated fund, not to parliament. You will not see the refunds. You will see only the trips abroad. Or you can say, I have a trip to South Africa. You ask permission from the clerk that allow me use this money that I got for Nairobi to go to the clerk or case.
Is there a situation where that happens?
It happens severally. Ask any ordinary MP, it happens. Ask any civil servant, it happens.
All right.
But what I'm saying,
let's look at this
the
situation.
exhibition for me.
A trip to Nairobi cannot be costed at the same time like a trip to Johannesburg. So how do you request to move money from Nairobi?
Per diem on government is standard.
It's standard?
Yeah, it's standard.
Is that so?
Yeah, it is so.
How come from these documents we are seeing variations?
Even if I'm going to, what can vary is the exchange rate. Yeah, but if you are going to Hong Kong, you get the same money as the one going to Somalia. It doesn't vary in our context. It is other parliaments like Nigeria that vary. Like Angola is the most expensive city, those who travel in the world. Yeah, others vary when they are going to Angola, but is it Angola or Malawi, one of those? But we don't vary. It's the same standard thing. It's why I'm emphasizing that I am not angry with the exhibition. My problem is, are they capable of guarding against what we would call infiltration in the military terms? That their cause becomes a tool that is used to go for people.
All right, we've had on the issue of the speakers. I'll be bringing you in, Malone. Let's look at the issue of the leader of opposition and the commissioners. The documents came out. Leader of opposition, 500 million. The other commissioners, 400 million.
Again,
what is the basis for that?
Again, the context is a problem. Because now, that's the best example of now politics hijacking the whole thing.
Now let's focus on the money.
Yes, I'm saying,
let's not look at the political
First
aspect.
of all, the money is a legitimate role of parliament. Mr. Lukwago, to care for the welfare of members and staff by law. And the way they care for members is through a budget of Parliament, which is approved in the House. It goes to the legal committee, it's approved. That's why the Commission has a Minister of Finance and has a Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister, lead of government.
The executive is in the Commission. And that's why the opposition is in the
It's also there.
in the Commission. Meaning whatever decisions of the Commission are by consensus of its members. You will not bring this to Mr. Mpuga as a person. And maybe to give you more information, there is no leader, high-ranking politician in Uganda, except President Museveni, whose benefits are not paid by Parliament. Did you know that? From the Vice President, from wherever, it is Parliament.
All right, we understand the aspect of benefits and welfare of members of Parliament. You pay salary, you provide them fuel, you provide per diem. But this is an aspect of a service award, which some people have actually said is not catered for in the Administration of Parliament Act.
That is it.
The only aspect in the Administration of Parliament Act is where we are seeing a service award to the clerk to Parliament upon retirement. We are also seeing service reward to a staff of Parliament like you have served 20 years and above and retires with merit. We do not see any political leaders being catered for under the service award category. So very many people have been wondering where does this come from?
I have just told you, you should be saying we do not see the leader of opposition in Parliament being catered for, because all other leaders except the president are catered for.
No, we are also looking at the other commissioners from the NRM, the three, who were also part of that. Mind you, this decision, the date was taken according to the minutes we have seen. The Minister of Finance and the Prime Minister were absent from that meeting.
And
therefore there was no collective,
the way the
decision.
commission works is by consensus. The reason for absence at that time could be circumstantial. But the minutes of the commission, the very day it ends, goes to all of them. And there is always approval of the previous minutes. You have the ones leaked of approval. You have minutes that were approving.
All right. So you
are not going to say
you do
are not there.
So you confirm that indeed these were minutes of the commission.
These were minutes of the commission. Why would I lie about that? Okay. Those were minutes of the commission. What I'm not happy with is to make this an Mpuga thing. And two, to imagine that Parliament, in excess of this legal mandate, is wrong to say, let us reward, so and so.
All right.
Even as a staff,
you point to us
the
legal mandate. You point to us the legal mandate where a service award to the commissioners of Parliament can be catered for.
Yes, you want the word service award? It's the wording affecting you.
Because I have another document here, which is the Administration of Parliament Act, an extract which clearly talks about only the clerk of Parliament and you a staff member of Parliament.
For staff, there is a retirement award. But there is another award when you serve consecutively for 20 years. Even when you have not retired, we are given a reward. It's not in that law. But it's within the mandate of the commission to do so.
And to be specific, Honorable Mpuga just served 1 year. It was in 2022 when this decision has been taken. He had not served for 20 consecutive years. So people are wondering what is the basis of him taking the 500 million.
Have you found the 500 million in his account? Can you pick his bank statement?
But you have confirmed that those are minutes of the commission.
Yes, that is a decision. A decision does not mean payment.
And we are interrogating that decision.
And I'm telling you, are you interrogating the decision of the payment?
We are
alluding here that he has already received the money.
Our topic of discussion is about alleged abuse of public resources in Parliament. So we are looking at the decision on how you are allocating the resources.
First of all, the resources of Parliament, that Parliament allocates to staff, to members, are resources that will be in the national budget. Legitimate. That's the resources of Parliament. And once you tell Lukwago to manage your newsroom, this is the money you require.
So at the point the budget of Parliament was being passed, this amount of money was already embedded.
It was already embedded in the budget.
Let's hear from you, Marlon Agao. What's your take? Your part explanation that has been given by Mr.
And never call it a payment to Honorable Mpuga. That is targeting.
No, I have not at any point called it a payment to Honorable Mpuga. That's why I've insisted to the commissioners
think
Mr.
one,
Adaba.
first of all, I don't believe that this money, the service award, was part of the budget. Because if it was part of the budget, then there wouldn't be any need for discussing it again. Anyway, logically. That is issue number one. Issue number two, on the issue of legality. One, I believe that the award is legal because it contravenes the law. One, when you look at, first of all, the Leadership Code Act, specifically Section 8 on conflict of interest, it says that a leader shall not take part in a decision where he draws a direct benefit. And we don't see anywhere in the matter that these people withdrew themselves from that decision. They are part of the decision where they were beneficiaries.
As you submit that, keep it in mind that Parliament is self-accounting, and at times they even determine their emoluments.
I won't come to that. So clearly, this was an illegal decision. Number two, there have been two court petitions by Ugandan called Mwesije Wilson, who went to court to challenge powers of Parliament to determine their own emoluments. That is Mwesije versus Attorney General, Constitutional Petition number 31 of 2011. And the Constitutional Court ruled that it is illegal for MPs to determine their own emoluments, and it should come from the executive and not from the Parliament Commission, and should be in the way of a motion, a bill, or resolution. Actually, Parliament, in that case, Parliament Commission appealed to the Supreme Court, and that is in Constitutional Appeal number 8 of 2016. Between the Parliament Commission and Mwesije Wilson, and the appeal was found to have no merit and was dismissed as basis. Of course, upholding the ruling of the what? Of the
Constitutional Court.
That Parliament doesn't have, the Parliamentary Commission doesn't have power on its own to make any decision that will affect the consolidated fund. And I think that is in line with Article 93 of the Constitution. So in terms of the legality, the decision was illegal. That is the second issue that I wanted to make. Of course, the other issue, the other reasons, the interest I would have as an analyst is why the current commission, not the previous or the ones coming after them. Why would you make a decision that benefits particular people and not the others who are occupying the same offices? So that also raises questions when it comes to that. But also, the basis of determining the amount of money. What is the basis? Even if you are to consider the service awards in their regulations, it doesn't come to that amount. It talks about 50% of the annual salary. Of course, in addition to the other conditions that must be fulfilled in terms of service for 20 years and other conditions that I've talked about. So that also raises questions. And you've already rightly said that this is an office that is already facilitated quite well to do their work. So what is the whole reasoning behind this kind of payment? So I think, to me, this first of all, there was clear conflict of interest. The decision is illegal, and it contravenes even court rulings, including the Supreme Court.
Can I give some information?
Yes, Mr. Bode.
He's saying it was not in the budget. That's what I'm saying. It is good to hold Parliament to account, but it's not good to blatantly say it is always wrong. This is the extract of the parliamentary budget, 2020-2024.
His argument was
the
that
ex gratia for political leaders is clearly budgeted for.
he was saying that if it was in the budget, there was no need for the commission to sit to discuss it.
But when did the commission sit? Did it sit before the budget? After the budget? I've told you, he said it's not in the budget, it's here.
So the
Ex
commission,
gratia for political leaders is here.
so the commission sat to take
Before the budget was
before the
approved.
budget to take a decision.
Take a decision. It is here. This is our
Let me have a look.
ex gratia. You can
Ex gratia.
Parliamentary
to-
vote is vote 104.
Mm.
And it's not from Mpuga. You see the amount there is not from Mpuga.
It's not from Puga.
The amount is for political leaders.
Nobody has said it is from Puga.
No, I'm
myself.
answering.
We are looking at the
I'm
commission.
not saying you, I'm answering what the public has been propagating.
Mm.
I'm not answering Mr. Lokwago.
Mm.
It is there. Ex gratia for political leaders. Let's not say it's not in the budget. But we're also not all stupid in the parliament, really.
Mm.
And if we say parliament has no authority, the Parliament Act has not been amended. And that act gives the commission force to make decisions.
But you see, the ruling of the court, the ruling of court automatically amends the law.
How do you say that?
The ruling of the
As the Attorney General,
the ruling of the Constitution.
As the Attorney General brought the amendment to Parliament.
Mr. Malone says, Mr. Malone Agaba says, the Constitutional Court struck it down. That per se is enough to make the law null and void. But even it went to the Supreme Court.
First of all, you see, if we go to the matters of the law, I am always humble to accuse myself. I'm not a lawyer. I will argue on the basics. First of all, the basics I would want to ask, because I'm not a lawyer. Maybe he's a lawyer. Another lawyer will say something different. What I only know, the Parliamentary Act is still in force. And if you go to G and H, you have it. It gives the Commission the power to make any other decision for the well-being of members and staff. The other aspect also, we really need to be acknowledging in these matters as we hold the Parliament to account. That we don't need to make it look like everything is grooming. You have it there, you check it.
Nobody has suggested that everything is grooming. That's why we are talking in particular about this money.
And when we are, the other part I told you that listening is part of any, even in the court process. But the problem sometimes have activists. Sorry, I'm just going to explain this. Most activists don't necessarily know. They fight entitlement by government officials, which I also agree with them. Some of us behave in an entitled way. I also need good leaders. That's crucial. I need them. Don't imagine because I work in the Parliament, I am cheering bad leadership. That's the perception. But also, when we are critiquing leaders, let's not all become entitled that only us know what is right. So where are we taking the country? Where are we taking? The leaders feel entitled. The activists feel they are more entitled to know what is right, what is wrong. We draw a country to chaos. That's why listening is very key.
All right. Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. Let's go for a break. When we return, we'll look at some of the views that are coming in from the members of the public, but also dig deeper on some of the submissions that are being made, especially to see whether this allocation of resources was illegal or not. There have been a number of submissions made by even some prominent people, including those who were former leaders of opposition in Parliament, who actually say if such an award is to exist, there is need to put it in the law. What does that mean in the context of the discussion we are having this evening? Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. We continue after this break.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
You can't come to the Sheraton? Worry not. Sheraton will come to you. Order your favorite meal for you and your family at your home, office, or special function. We deliver breakfast, lunch, early dinner, snacks, cakes, and pastries. We also cater to weddings, bridal and baby showers, birthdays, anniversaries, and all your special occasions. Stay home and let's bring your meal to your doorstep. Sheraton Kampala is also available on Jumia Food and Glovo. For bookings and inquiries, call 0312 322 499. Email foodandbeverage@sheratonkampala.com.
Terms of business with Housing Finance Bank and meet your business needs with ease. Get unsecured bid bonds of up to 500 million shillings within 24 hours. That's not all. Housing Finance Bank is also offering other short-term facilities, including performance guarantees, advance payment guarantees, contract financing, export and import financing, invoice discounting, and so much more. Contact our trade finance team today on 0417-707-595. You can also call our contact center on 0800-211-082 or WhatsApp 0771-888-755 or visit any of our Housing Finance Bank branch nearest to you. Housing Finance Bank, we make it easy. Housing Finance Bank is regulated by Bank of Uganda, and customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund up to 10 million Uganda shillings. Terms and conditions apply.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Live on Radio 1 FM 90. Our topic of discussion, the outcry over alleged abuse of public funds in Parliament. My guest this evening is Chris Obore, Director of Communications at Parliament, and Mr. Malone Agaba, Executive Director, Anti-Corruption Coalition, Uganda. This discussion is based on the fact that there is an online campaign that is ongoing, which is exhibiting what has been going on in Parliament. And we have seen a number of documents being churned out by different people and the discussion is still going on as people call for transparency and accountability from the part of Parliament. Well, keep your comments coming. Use the WhatsApp line, which is 0703 090 090, and your questions or comments will be read out loud clear for the people in studio to actually respond. Malon, let's look at the best way forward to deal with this kind of situation. Now, we heard from different stakeholders, those that worked in Parliament before, and especially in the office of the Leader of Opposition. Honorable Professor Ogenga Latigo, Honorable Winnie Kiza, Honorable Wafula Ogutu. We have heard from a number of other people, legal brains who have worked and served in Parliament before. And they clearly say that this service award to commissioners of Parliament is unprecedented. They actually say there is no legal basis for it, and there will be need for it to be enshrined in the law. Now here we have Mr. Chris Obore actually telling us it is not illegal. What's your reading of those particular
I think
schools of thought?
One, I've already explained that the award was illegal because it is not based on any law. Secondly, I've raised issues of conflict of interest because these people are the beneficiaries of this award, and several other reasons that I've really talked about. But maybe moving forward in terms of what needs to be done. If there is need really to award different offices the way the former speakers and vice presidents and presidents are awarded, then I also agree that there should be a law to guide that. But also secondly, looking much more broadly at government, one thing I've been calling for is having a salary review commission, or a salary review commission that sets salaries for different public servants and emoluments. Because we're here talking about Parliament. Probably we don't know what is happening in other government ministries, departments and agencies. It could be something similar or even worse. So I think we need really a commission that will come together and harmonize, because the issue of salary and emoluments is really a very big issue. And we have had, for instance, several strikes for salaries. We have had workers in KCCA who haven't been paid, they're asking for their money. So when you have such an award happening, where the basis is not clear and being made to a group that is already well facilitated, then to raise questions. So let's have a commission that can really set standards that can be followed. And by the way, also another issue is that when you look at the Administration of Parliament Act, it talks about decisions of the commission being in a way also being approved by the Public Service Commission, which I don't see coming up at any time. It also talks about some of these decisions, especially decisions that have an element of money, being approved by the whole Parliament, which I didn't see at any time. Those are some of the issues that we need to address. All right.
Chris Obore, as Parliament, do you take any lessons from this exhibition? I'm sure this matter has been discussed in the corridors even in your office.
I have told you that I am one of those who believes in building civil competence in Uganda. Because bad governance affects me, will affect my wife, will affect my children, will affect my grandchildren. The thinking that there are particular people who are entitled to only know what is going to be good for Uganda forever is what I don't want. So if we must go for this Uganda, we must be cognizant of so many issues at play and not pick one thing and run away with it and think this is how Uganda is. That's the problem. And also it is a bit disappointing if we say that a budget was passed and they say I never see. People should watch Parliament. There is a gap. Instead of keenly following what happens in the House, we wait for exhibitors to bring something. Then because we never saw a budget being passed, maybe we're busy in our farms or what, we come and say, oh, I never saw Parliament sit. There is no way a national budget can be operationalized without going through Parliament, for even its sake. Not even a budget for Parliament itself. Even a supplementary needed by government still has to come to Parliament.
We have heard about something called budgeting for corruption. Have you heard about
that?
it?
That is now
that
is now an opinion.
Where Parliament in itself appropriates funds, knowing that a certain amount of that money is actually going to be their money, outside the formal amount of money that is not.
I don't think Parliament can spend any money which is outside the budget for itself.
Of course you appropriate the budget.
There are three arms of government.
But in there...
Listen, there are three arms of government. You know it. The executive and actually the executive the executive is the owner of the national budget. We run a presidential budget system. I don't think Parliament will say, judiciary, bring your money to us, or executive, bring your money to us. No.
Well, Chris, we've had a situation where we are actually told that in the supplementary budget, which was passed by Parliament in December last year, about 65 billion shillings was channeled to State House and it was brought back to Parliament. And MPs received 50 million and they're about to receive the balance of 50 million. Each MP was supposed to receive 100 million.
I would like the lawyers.
Have you heard about that?
I would like lawyers to tell me what they mean by saying who alleges must prove. I don't know what it means. I speak for the Parliamentary Commission.
We have had some of your members actually confirming.
Now you're pandering to politics, which I began explaining here. That we must be careful of politics. Parliament is a multi-party parliament. It is plural. It's not homogeneous. If some MPs choose to hog limelight by whispering falsehoods to members of the public, of course they are the ones on the wrong, not the public. But we ask the public to have some discerning ears to say, this guy here, you are there. Why don't they one day drive here with the money and say, Lukwago, have signed this money from State House as a bribe? Why do they come to you in whispers? This is what I'm objecting to. I speak for them. I didn't want to make this show political. When I say let's avoid pandering to politics, I know some of the actors within the Parliament.
You mean members of Parliament cannot be whistleblowers?
To what? When they have the power? You whistleblow to who? That the media have the power to change the law. Those are cowards masquerading as MPs. I'm sorry to say it. You whistleblow to Lukwago, who will come on the radio. Yet you are the one supposed to make a law. Lukwago elected you to represent him. And you want to highlight such people? Don't promote cowards who go on whispers. There's a flow there. I keep telling them, fight from there. Some of them have become State of Parliament MPs. They don't even know the chamber. They just come to address the media and walk away. I don't like that as a citizen.
Right, Mr. Gaba, one other aspect that has come up during this exhibition is...
So I didn't say the 65 billion that was brought from State House to Parliament. It's very stupid. Is he? He's the owner of the budget. And I'm close to President Museveni, the general of the resistance. For how many years now, running Uganda? He knows us more than we think we know him. You just pick his money, 65 billion, and say, I'm going to give him peace. For what purpose? As a who? I don't think so, Mr. Alfonso.
Right, let's say from...
Would be overshowing power.
Mr.
The general is in charge, my dear.
Mr. Gaba, let's look at the other aspect, the issue of recruitment. This exhibition also portrayed that jobs in Parliament, they are going to friends, in-laws, and relatives. And according to the list, over 177 jobs have actually been dished out. In some situations, some MPs have about 5 relatives working in a particular department or working in their offices, and some people have been complaining about this. What's your take about that?
I think, unfortunately, this is not coming out for the first time. I think even before the media talked about it, the issue of nepotism in Parliament, and I think I really have to thank the exhibition for bringing out these issues quite well. Of course, our body is talking about issues of evidence and hard, but you see, in a context like ours, where it's not easy to get information, citizen efforts like yours put out the information they have.
By the way, Chite Kagaba used to pay me to do research for ACU.
Yes,
you can ask her. Yeah,
yes,
I would pay me. So it's easy to get information.
I do remember. And the two Christian bodies completed.
Even if you pay me now, I'll give you that.
The two Christian bodies.
The two Christian bodies that completed.
No. You give me money like Caesar used to do, and you ask me which information you want. I'll do research for you.
So I'm saying that this information is not out there.
Even if we want information from Parliament, we'll give it to us.
I'm saying,
if we pay you,
whenever I work with them, there were terms of reference. Bring. I support ACU myself. So it's not hard to get information in Uganda.
My lord.
So the issues of nepotism are true, and they're quite troubling. But of course, also we don't need to look at Parliament in isolation, because this Parliament exists within a context, which is Uganda, and which is extremely corrupt, where we lose 10 trillion shillings annually, and where we're being ranked quite badly by Transparency International. So I think as we're talking about Parliament, we also need to look at the broader context, talked about it coming in here. and we know that there are so many funny deals for the country that have emerged from the executive and have been approved by Parliament. Talk about the reservoirs, talk about the.
I was about to point it to Mr. Chris Obore when he said that the general was in charge.
And talking about the supplementaries, with a lot of classified expenditure that is not so easy to explain anyway. So I think Parliament is existing within a kind of ecosystem that is extremely corrupt. And when you talk about those issues of nepotism and what, I'm not surprised at all. So also, as we're talking about cleaning Parliament, we should look at that vis-a-vis the bigger problem we have in our country, the problem of corruption.
Chris,
Yes.
your take on this issue of recruitment.
First of all, I already wrote, I think, in Daily Monitor somewhere, where I gave an interview. I want to appreciate Agaba for not saying Parliament is clean, but for saying it is an ecosystem operating. And the difference between Parliament and others, when they're exhibited, they go for the exhibitors. I remember when Agatha began exhibiting the NGO world. I don't think she used to sleep. Everything was thrown at her. But Parliament is like a church. Everybody can pound it. You say, hey, the Lord will what? Will judge. So if the exhibition today is in the Parliament, and for us, I took the approach of saying, let me collate the issues. And that's the strategy I've given to all of my bosses, that we don't need to be reactionary. We need to pick the issues as they come. I am only appealing to the exhibitors to avoid the temptation to enter, people to come in who want to settle grudges within and outside Parliament. It will lose meaning. But the issue of staff in Parliament, the truth is our staffing levels have increased. And the background to the increase partly started with my brother, big brother Jacob. He himself made it his duty to ensure equity and diversity in the recruitment in Parliament. You follow Parliament. One time he complained in the floor of the House that since independence, the National Parliament has never had a Karamojong as an employee. We used to say we shall not wait for Karamja to develop. Today, Karamja has PhDs. Why don't we have
that is affirmative action.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Which can
that
be
is
accepted.
what informed the new recruitment.
But surely Jacob might have not envisaged the situation where a particular MP has 5 relatives in parliamentary service.
Maybe you can explain the policy of recruitment.
And unfortunately, when the Parliament is recruiting, they don't first ask you who's your relative. There's a position of relative coming to Radio 1 at the reception, and he moves. Then he meets you at the corridor. Then he says, by the way, I've got a job here. I'm saying there's that possibility. Not that I am in the support of.
There is also what they call influence peddling.
That is the ecosystem Agaba was talking about. And which me and you, I would join the exhibition if we went step by step. But the general rise of staff in the Parliament is because of that Jacob raised. And indeed, when you looked at it, you would see that there's a problem. So in addressing that, that's why the Speaker, Anita Among, said, I must carry on what Jacob said.
But you don't do that beyond the limit, do you?
I don't know what you call by beyond the limit.
Parliament has a staffing level, not so.
If you read the Parliament Act, the Commission determines how many departments to have, how many staff to have, how many to merge. It is by law.
What kind of governance is that? Where we are now talking about scaling down on government departments, and Parliament is increasing the number of departments. How
much work of Parliament do you understand? Because the demand for staff corresponds with the responsibilities. And you know that even here, every head of a department, you head ACU. If the advocacy team says we are only 2, we are overwhelmed, make us 4.
The only department of Parliament that was understaffed at the time I was reporting from Parliament, and it was an issue, was the research department. And MPs were complaining not having people to help them with research in their constituency.
Are they complaining now?
They are not.
It has been addressed. That explains the rise in the numbers. That's what I'm telling you. That explains the rise in numbers.
Melon.
But Lukwago, you know these issues. I don't want you just to please the public. You know it.
I'm not pleasing anyone.
There was a problem, and in fact, we still have a problem. because compared to other legislatures, in fact, each MP is supposed to have 3 staff of parliament. 1 based in the constituency, 2 here. They are supposed to. Because the work of a member of parliament is not to be flipping around papers. It's supposed to get data and articulate in the house. But in Uganda, an MP is exposed.
And then the question is, are those members of staff being recruited on merit? That's the issue.
Well, who determines merit?
Parliament must be having...
Tell me, because if
Parliament must be
Obore
having-
chairs the meeting, Obore cannot bring merit. If Lukago chairs the meeting, Lukago cannot bring merit. Whom are we going to bring merit? Jesus. If you bring Jesus, the Muslims will say, let Muhammad chair. So who determines merit?
All right, let's hear from the listeners. A number of comments coming in from the WhatsApp line.
If an Anglican chairs, the Catholic will say no.
I'll begin with a comment. Godwin Okirol listening in from Muntinda. I appreciate the presence of Chris in the studio. This service award may not be blamed on Puga per se, but can Chris elaborate the issue of personal to holder? The service award in human resource terms is a welcome gesture and good practice. However, it should be equitable, fair to benefit all persons intended to benefit from. The issue of personal to holder seems to defeat the very purpose the service award, and thus it seems to favor only a few individuals. Thanks for the show. I am Drukumani from Arua. Tell Honorable Bore that he was only good when he was backing outside. Now that he has joined the dining table, he sounds very criminal. That parliament he's working in now will be worst in the history of Uganda. I'm not happy with the way they defraud
They said the same thing about the
money.
tennis parliament.
Then he says, asking Puga to resign and return the cash is not practical. Uganda is in a bad state, but it can never be liberated by a cohort of people behaving in an exemplary manner. Be it political party or any organization, Uganda needs to stop and reboot, and this can only be done through a national conference. Since independence, Uganda has always had a cabal of people that capture the presidency as an institution. It remains our main problem. Until that is sorted, we shall continue running through liberation circles. Another comment, let Chris cite any section to support his assertions. He is simply doing that, what we call moral disengagement in ethics. The award is not only unethical, but illegal. That is Edison with that comment. Obore is asking where we are taking the country, but you wonder where they are also taking the country with poor roads and they rewarding themselves from taxpayers' money. I need to correct Mr. Obore on the implications of the ruling of Constitutional Court. Article 2, subsection 2 of the Constitution is very clear. Any law inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void to the extent of the inconsistency. If the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court sitting in an appeal decided that the Parliamentary Commission has no powers to charge consolidated fund without the involvement of the executive, it means that any decision by the Commission in this regard is void, as is the law upon which it is based. There is no need to first amend the law. Case in point is that when the Constitutional Court ruled that Section 4 of the Divorce Act, insofar it discriminated against women, was null and void. Courts immediately started disregarding the said section without need for amendment. Kanene Johnson listening in from Sironko. To me, I think the problem is not Mr. Obore. It is the problem of Parliament having a lot of money on their vote. Since they are the body that allocates funds to other institutions, and other agencies and authorities are bleeding with little funding by Parliament. They have a lot to even plan for reallocations here and there. Chris keeps making generic statements about specific issues being put to him. Can he tell us with specificity the falsehoods in the issues raised by the exhibitors? We have the most extravagant Speaker of Parliament, and it's no surprise that the House has become a clearing house for illegal transactions. God help us. That's Apollo with that particular comment. Nelly in Kisasi, please stop playing with our intelligence. Members of Parliament are enjoying those small envelopes. Why we as taxpayers deserve accountability for those seats you are warming. Then we have another comment. Good evening, Radio 1. Tell Mr. Obole to stop defending the indefensible. That parliament he is speaking for is very, very corrupt, nepotistic, and it shows that the general problem, and that shows the general problem that Uganda is facing. Well, those are some of the comments that are coming in. It's disgusting listening to Obore. The level of arrogance he exhibits sums up the rot in that parliament. It will go down in our history as the most corrupt and incompetent parliament. That's a comment from Ben listening in from Chira. Well, gentlemen, those are some of the comments that are coming in. Very quickly, I'll begin with you, Marlon. Any response to the members of Parliament?
Yeah, I think most of the comments were directed to Bole and Parliament. We will respond to them. But maybe just a conclusion on the service award is that it's very clear, it is illegal, it is immoral, it is myopic, and it will not take us anywhere. Yeah, but again, going back to just briefly, I want to talk about the issue of why the Supreme Court came in. Because ideally we should have a system of checks and balances. And unfortunately in our country, the checks and balances are not working quite well as they should be. Of course, you have the Auditor General, who ideally should be auditing Parliament, but is also an employee of Parliament and reports to Parliament. You are having the Inspectorate of Government that also reports to Parliament and receives funds from Parliament. You have the Executive that is also a culprit in passing the budgets and supplementaries and deals. So the question is that who really holds Parliament to account, much as it holds other agencies accountable? And I think really the citizens have the power to hold the way they are doing in the exhibition, to hold Parliament to account. And of course, finally, I like I said at the start, I salute the exhibition, and I think it's a welcome initiative that will help us going forward.
Chris, very quickly, some responses
from there. If we also ask who holds Parliament to account, then I really still have a big job to do in terms of creating the understanding of Parliament among the public, including the elite. Because at his level, I should be expecting him to know that there is no expenditure Parliament can make until the Accountant General has okayed. Isn't that holding you to account? That there is nothing you can do, and the Auditor General will come and ask you questions. Isn't that holding you to account?
But it's also not wrong for we the voters to ask questions of Parliament.
By reporting. Parliament does not go to office of the Auditor General and how to do their work.
Never. Not just reporting.
It's an office of...
You also exercise appropriation power. You exercise oversight in terms of appointing the auditors.
I'm not telling you that...
That is the idealistic.
Mr. Gaba.
But in the practice...
What is the practical? Will it become practical when you are the one to hold it to account? Because to account means you have to have systems. And I'm telling you that in a government there are systems. Even for State House. The president is the originator of the budget. But even his own expenditure, you may not know that there are checks and balances in State House. So we can't say who will. That is good for whipping up an emotion, which I would say that may turn into political. But the truth is, there is no institution operating as an island. The guy says which section? You had the Parliament Act. I referred you to subs G and H.
You said court rulings are not binding on Parliament.
No. Who brought the court ruling into Parliament? Was it the person against the Parliament or against the Attorney General? You cannot. You see,
Attorney General is the chief advisor of Parliament.
Have you asked him whether he transmitted the ruling to Parliament? When was it? So let's argue to improve systems, not to argue. You know, there is not you, Agaba, please. I have nothing personal, but I've seen a trend where the need for fame has killed us as Ugandans.
All right.
We just argue so that the public follows us.
Gentlemen, we have to bring this show to the end. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
But thank us for passing the students' loan scheme.
Thank you very much for coming.
13.9 billion.
Thank you very much, dear listeners, for being part of the show. Up next, we have the news in English with Ms. Josephine Dagano. The rest of the matter solved with BB Jr.